The night before my wedding, I received a phone call. On the other end was a slightly childish male voice, thick with barely suppressed sobs. Grace, please, will you marry me tomorrow? I thought it was a prank call and was about to hang up when I heard my fiancé, Michael, talking through the crack in the apartment den door. Amber, I told you I'm marrying Grace tomorrow. Stop clinging to me. I'll find a way to handle the baby. Just give me some time. Fine. But after tonight, you're not to come looking for me again. It turned out my fiancé, Michael, had not only betrayed me long ago but had also gotten someone else pregnant. And now, on the eve of our wedding, he was going to a secret rendezvous with that woman. Meanwhile, the unfamiliar boy on the phone was still sobbing. I picked up the phone and said to him, "Hello? I agree. Come and marry me tomorrow." With a click, the door was pushed open, and Michael walked in. Seeing me awake, a flicker of unnatural panic crossed his face, quickly replaced by a gentle smile. "Grace, why aren't you asleep yet?" "Can't sleep." My voice betrayed no emotion. Michael reached out to pull me into his arms, just like always. He carried the familiar clean scent of his body wash, mixed with a faint, unfamiliar smell I couldn't place. Normally, I would have felt comfort and warmth. But at that moment, I felt a wave of revulsion and instinctively recoiled from his touch. He paused slightly, then softly asked, "Are you too nervous?" "Me too. Just thinking about becoming your groom tomorrow. I'm too excited to sleep." He tried to draw closer again, his tone growing more tender. "Grace, are you hungry? I'll make you a late-night snack, okay?" "No, thanks," I replied, my throat feeling dry. I looked down at him, my gaze so complex I couldn't even decipher it myself. Michael gently pressed a kiss to my forehead. I looked at the man before me, whom I had loved for 7 years. Was this Michael, always gentle, refined, and considerate? In front of me, truly the same man who had just been outside the door, conspiring on how to appease his mistress? Memories of the past 7 years flooded my mind, uncontrolled. We met when Michael was at the lowest point of his life. He had failed at his startup, his girlfriend had left him, and he was completely shrouded in gloom. I remembered the first time I met him through a friend. He was sitting quietly in a corner of the coffee shop, his eyes dim, completely out of sync with the surrounding hustle and bustle. It was I who encouraged him, little by little, supporting him to get back on his feet. I spent a year with him, analyzing the market, revising his business plan, and even used my savings from years to help him get back on his feet. After we got together, I gave him my all. When he returned late from business dinners, I'd leave a light on, waiting for him, and have his hangover remedy ready. When he was busy with work, I took care of all the housework so he had nothing to worry about. For every holiday and anniversary, I thoughtfully prepared gifts he would like, never just going through the motions. For 7 years, I poured all my heart into loving and supporting him. We barely even had a loud argument. I thought my devotion would be enough for him to feel the happiness of being loved, enough for him to completely forget the past and wholeheartedly spend the rest of his life with me. I thought we were walking down the aisle tomorrow, but reality had slapped me so loudly, so cruelly. I didn't understand. I truly didn't understand what I had done wrong. Why was this happening to me? My heart felt like it was clenched by an invisible hand, aching so much I could barely breathe. "Grace, what are you thinking about? You seem miles away." Michael's voice pulled my thoughts back to reality. He was already fully dressed and spoke casually. "Oh, Grace, I'm heading out for a bit. Jake and the guys said they arranged a bachelor party for me. Just us, the boys." The phrase, "tonight is the last time," from the phone call earlier echoed in my ears. My heart sank. "The wedding is tomorrow. Can't you skip this party tonight?" Michael frowned immediately, a trace of impatience barely visible, but he softly coaxed me. "Grace, the guys went out of their way to prepare this surprise for me. How can I decline? Don't worry, I promise I'll be back early, and it definitely won't affect tomorrow." "Fine. Grace, you're the best." Michael kissed me hard on the cheek again. Like clutching at a last straw, I asked desperately, "Can I come with you?" Michael's smile visibly stiffened. He immediately shook his head firmly, his tone resolute, allowing no room for argument. "No way. I told you it's a bachelor party for the guys. It's all men. It would be inconvenient for a girl like you to come along. Be a good girl, wait for me at home. I'll be back to you soon." With that, he didn't give me a chance to speak again. "Honey, I'm off. Wait for me at home, okay?" His footsteps were light, tinged with impatience, as he disappeared behind the door. Listening to the door softly close, I stood rooted to the spot for a long time. I took a deep breath, suppressing the turmoil within me, and quietly followed him. I drove, silently trailing Michael. His car eventually pulled into the underground parking garage of a luxury apartment building. My heart grew colder with each passing moment. I got out of my car, keeping my distance, and watched him confidently walk into the elevator lobby. I didn't take the same elevator as him, instead hurrying towards the emergency exit stairs nearby. Not far off, I heard voices from behind a partially closed room door. "Michael, you finally made it. I thought you were going to spend the night with your good fiancé." A seductive yet somewhat sharp female voice spoke. "Amber, I told you I'm marrying Grace tomorrow. Stop clinging to me." Amber? I remembered now. A friend of Michael's from college had once inadvertently mentioned to me that he had relentlessly pursued a junior named Amber for 4 years during his university days, until she graduated and went abroad. Michael had been depressed for so long after she went abroad, only slowly emerging from that gloom after meeting me. It turned out he had never truly let go. "Clinging to you? Michael, don't you want me? If you didn't, why would you come looking for me in the middle of the night?" She paused, lowering her voice, full of menace. "And don't forget, I'm carrying your child. Do you believe I'll tell your good fiancé right now, you?" Michael's face was ashen. He snarled in a low voice, "Amber, stop using the child to blackmail me. I told you I'd handle it. Don't push me too far. Just give me more time." Amber scoffed, her tone becoming more playful. "More time? Michael, ever since I got pregnant with your child, you've been avoiding me constantly. You just want to keep me and the baby in the dark, don't you? And I'm using the child to force you?" Then who was it who couldn't wait to come find me the moment he heard I was back in the country, and then got intimate with me? Don't tell me that was my doing too. I said that was an accident. We were both drunk that time. Fine, even if we were both drunk that time. Amber's tone grew suggestive. "I hear you're getting married tomorrow? So, how about we consummate our marriage tonight?" "Amber, you. Stop being absurd." Michael's voice held a trace of panic and resistance. Amber, however, wouldn't let up. She drew out her voice seductively, "Call me wife. If you do, I promise I won't bother you again, and I can wait on the baby issue." "Are you serious?" "Of course." After a suffocating silence, a struggling yet undeniably clear voice came through, "Wife." Those 2 words felt like searing hot irons, branding my heart, almost incinerating my sanity. Darling." Amber let out a triumphant chuckle and grabbed Michael. Immediately after, came the woman's triumphant low laugh and hurried kissing sounds. Then came the man's initial symbolic, somewhat stiff resistance, gradually softening, finally dissolving into suppressed, desirous heavy breathing and intermittent moans. I stood behind the fire door, rigid, as if plunged into an ice-cold abyss. Every suggestive sound hammered against my heart, shattering 7 years of love and devotion, trampling my last vestiges of dignity. I thought I had spent 7 years by his side, helping him through his lowest points and supporting him in his career. Yet, I never imagined he was still hung up on his old flame, even going so far as to be intimate with her the night before our wedding, allowing her to humiliate me so thoroughly. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. What did my efforts, my love, mean to him? I turned silently, my nails digging deep into my palms. Every step felt like treading on knife edges, bleeding. Since this was the case, I decided to let go, to fulfill their true love and completely sever my own illusions. The next day, the wedding venue was packed with guests. I stood alone on the stage in my wedding gown, my meticulously made-up face showing no trace of a bride's expected joy, only a near-cold composure. Time ticked by second. The officiant repeatedly glanced at his wristwatch, fine beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The scheduled time had passed, but Michael had yet to appear. A commotion began among the guests. They whispered and murmured among themselves. Michael's parents were pacing anxiously. Mrs. Miller held her phone, frantically dialing with a tearful voice, while Mr. Miller's face was ashen, continuously offering awkward smiles to familiar guests. Did something happen to the groom? Look at the time. Why isn't he here yet? This is so disrespectful. The whispers grew louder, surging towards me like a tide. Michael's parents' faces were utterly mortified. Finally, they steeled themselves and walked onto the stage. Mr. Miller repeatedly apologized to me, then he and Mrs. Miller bowed deeply to all the guests. The scene was incredibly awkward and humiliating. I took a deep breath and took the microphone from the trembling officiant's hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to attend the wedding of Mr. Michael and myself." I paused, my gaze calmly sweeping over the array of expressions in the audience, then continued in a clear and steady voice. "However, I apologize, but the scheduled time had passed, and my groom, Mr. Michael, has yet to appear. I believe this perhaps means he isn't willing to marry me. A wave of suppressed gasps and commotion rose from the audience. I recalled the unfamiliar male voice from yesterday, thick with sobs. That phrase, Grace, please, will you marry me tomorrow? I paused, looking at the stunned, sympathetic, or even gleeful expressions in the audience, and continued, since the original groom doesn't value this wedding, then everything meticulously planned for it cannot simply become a complete joke because of one irresponsible man. Therefore, I have decided that if there is any gentleman here who is willing to marry me, I will marry him right now. At these words, the entire hall erupted. Shock, bewilderment, incomprehension, mockery. All sorts of gazes and waves of discussion washed over me. Michael's parents were ashen, unable to utter a single word, only staring at me with disbelief. I stood quietly on the stage, my fingers gripping the microphone, slightly white from the pressure, waiting. I knew it was absurd. Perhaps no one would respond at all. But just then, a steady and firm male voice clearly cut through all the commotion from a corner of the guest seating. I do. Everyone's gaze swiveled uniformly towards the source of the voice. A young man in a well-tailored dark suit pushed past the astonished crowd, calmly stood up, and with steady, resolute steps, walked towards me at the end of the red carpet. He was tall and well-built, with a handsome face and an extraordinary presence. I looked at him, my heart involuntarily pounding. The sobbing voice from last night seemed to overlap with this composed figure before me. It was him. He really came. It was already afternoon, the wedding reception had long ended. Most of the guests in the grand had left, with only a few remaining who seemed eager to watch the unfolding drama, along with a few close relatives and friends of the Lin family. Just then, the grand doors were violently flung open, and Michael rushed in, disheveled and frantic. His hair was messy, his shirt collar slightly open, and faint, suggestive red marks were still visible on his neck. Michael, you're finally here. Where have you been? Michael's parents were the first to rush over, both anxious and furious. Michael's face was deathly pale, his eyes darting away. Seeing the mess on the floor and the sparse crowd, he seemed to realize something and stammered out an apology to his parents. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I accidentally drank too much yesterday and overslept. Nonsense, his father yelled, trembling with rage, pointing at him. Do you have any idea what day it is today? Do you know our family's reputation is ruined because of you? Mrs. Miller also slumped into a chair, crying and scolding her son for his foolishness and absurdity. The remaining guests watched Michael with disdain, pointing and whispering about him. Michael hung his head, his shoulders trembling slightly, letting his parents scold him without a word in return. After being thoroughly reprimanded for a while, he shakily lifted his head. His gaze searched through the crowd, with a hint of pleading and disbelief, his voice hoarse. Grace? Where is Grace? Mr. and Mrs. Miller's faces were also extremely awkward at this point. Mr. Miller sighed and said to Michael, Michael, since you didn't come, Grace already married someone else at the wedding. What? Michael looked as if he deep been struck by lightning, staggering back a step and nearly falling. No. That's impossible. Grace loves me so much. How could she marry someone else? You're all lying to me. Where is she? I need to see her. He refused to believe it was true. He was confident he knew how much Grace loved him. For 7 years, she had given him everything, caring for him meticulously, gentle and considerate as water. For him, she had given up so many opportunities of her own. No matter how late he came home, she would leave a light on, waiting for him. No matter what setbacks he faced, she would quietly support him. He couldn't believe that a woman who had given him everything, who was so afraid of losing him, would immediately marry someone else after he was merely accidentally late. Yes, he was the one who cheated, and he was the one who was late for the wedding. In his subconscious, he seemed to have long assumed that no matter what mistakes he made or what hurtful things he said, Grace would, as always, silently tolerate him, forgive him, and never leave him. Dad, Mom, you must be lying to me, right? Michael grabbed his parents' arms, shaking them incoherently. Even if I was late, she would definitely wait for me. How could she marry someone else? Mr. Miller angrily flung his hand away, exasperated. This is your own doing. Grace waited on stage for you for so long. When you still didn't show up, she said the wedding needed a groom, and since you weren't coming, she asked if anyone present was willing to marry her. And then a man actually stepped forward. Michael felt his head spin, his vision blurring. No, Grace must have been too angry at the time to do something so absurd. She just wanted to spite him. Yes, that must be it. As long as he went to apologize to her, and gently coaxed her like before, she would definitely soften, she would definitely forgive him. After all, she loved him so much. She couldn't live without him. He suddenly pushed past his parents, who still scolding him, ignored their shouts, and stumbled out of the grand. He had to find Grace and make her understand that she could only be his bride. After the wedding, I took Ethan, the boy who had answered my call at the wedding, back to what was supposed to be Michael and my new home. Looking at this nominal husband before me, I gave a wry smile, a hint of uncertainty in my voice. I really didn't expect you to actually come, let alone say something like that. Ethan blinked his bright eyes, sidling up to me like a large dog, his tone tinged with excitement and a hint of wanting praise. Grace, wasn't I good? Why did you call me last night and say those things? I avoided his expectant gaze and asked the question on my mind. Ethan drew out his words, giving a slightly embarrassed smile and scratching his head. I guess I was just drunk at the time. Grace, I just didn't want to see you marry that jerk. I scrutinized him. In the light, his skin was pale, his features delicate, and his eyes clear yet revealing an indescribable blend of youthfulness and attachment. He gave me a feeling that was both familiar and strange, but I was certain I had never met him before last night's phone call. We haven't met before, have we? I couldn't help but ask. You don't know me, Grace? But I've known you for a long time. Ethan's voice held a hint of grievance, like a discarded puppy. I was heartbroken for quite a while when I heard you were getting married. He exaggeratedly pouted, then broke into a wide grin, revealing perfectly white teeth. But, I'm not sad at all anymore. Why? Why, indeed? Ethan tilted his head, his eyes darting around. Because I'm already planning our honeymoon destination. Should it be romantic Maldives, or the charming Aegean? Or maybe you'd like to ski in Switzerland? I really want to travel with you, Grace. I sighed, rubbing my throbbing temples, finding myself between laughter and tears at his erratic thoughts. My head's right now. I'm not in the mood to think about any of that. Just then, urgent and rough knocking sounded from outside the door, followed by Michael's angry shouts and the anxious pleas of his parents. I frowned, took a deep breath, and got up to open the door. Outside the door, Michael's eyes were bloodshot, glaring intensely at me. His parents were trying to restrain him. Mr. Miller's face was full of shame and helplessness, as he continuously apologized to me. Grace, it's all our fault for not raising him well. Please don't hold it against Michael. Mrs. Miller, meanwhile, wiped away tears, tearfully scolding her son, yet her eyes periodically darted to me with a hint of pleading. Michael suddenly flung his parents' hands away, grabbing my wrist with surprising force, and roared, Grace, what the hell are you doing? How dare you marry another man in front of so many people? What do you take me for? The moment he came close, I distinctly smelled the lingering alcohol on him and the scent of the perfume Amber usually wore. A wave of intense nausea surged in my stomach, and I violently yanked my hand away from his. Michael staggered a few steps, bumped into the doorframe, and stared at me in disbelief, his eyes filled with offended rage. He couldn't understand why my eyes, usually so gentle and obedient towards him, never daring to say a harsh word, were now filled with bone-chilling indifference and disgust. Grace, he tried to say more, his voice laced with suppressed fury, attempting to overwhelm me with his presence. Michael, we're over. I cut him off coldly, my voice not loud, but firm and unyielding. At the wedding, I married Ethan. Now, he is my husband. No. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. 7 years of history, and you just cut it off like that? Grace, how could you do this to me? How dare you do this to me? Michael's parents also rushed forward. Mr. Miller tried to persuade me earnestly. Grace, Michael knows he was wrong. UTW. Oh, have so many years of history together, how can you just throw it all away? Mrs. Miller echoed, that's right, Grace. Michael was just foolish for a moment. He still cares for you. Please be the bigger person and forgive him this time. I scoffed, cutting them off before they could finish. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, it's over between us. The wedding is also over. There's nothing more to say. Please leave. Seeing that I was about to close the door, Michael lunged forward. Grace, I know I was wrong. I'm truly sorry. Please forgive me, okay? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have been late, I shouldn't have made you angry. Don't marry that man, please. Enough. I snapped, my disappointment and fury reaching their peak. Michael, I gave you 7 years, everything I had. And how did you treat me? The night before our wedding, you went out being intimate with Amber. Have you no shame? Grace, did you have me followed? Michael was stunned into silence by my words, his face instantly turning ashen, his body swaying precariously. But he still tried to argue. I didn't want to. Amber kept clinging to me. Besides, I was drunk. If she hadn't seduced me, none of this would have happened. If you can't control yourself, don't try to pin the blame on others. I felt this man was utterly beyond reason. Seeing this, Michael's parents seemed to understand something, but they still held on to me, appealing to emotion. Grace, even if Michael made a mistake and missed the wedding, he knows he was wrong now. We'll get rid of Amber, she won't affect you too. I couldn't be bothered to waste more words with them and stated directly, there's no need. There's no longer any possibility between Michael and me. As for him and Amber, I couldn't care less. With that, I ignored Michael and his parents' heartbroken cries and vulgar curses at the door, and simply slammed the door shut, cutting off those sickening sounds. I immediately called building security and had them forcibly removed. After handling all of it, I felt as if all my strength had been drained, collapsing onto the sofa as the world around me seemed to quiet. Ethan had stood quietly by, watching everything unfold, and only now did a slightly worried expression reappear on his face. He silently handed me a glass of warm water, his voice cautiously probing, "Grace, are you okay? Don't be sad. I'm here for you." I looked into his clear eyes and nodded. Didn't you say you wanted to travel? Shall we leave here tomorrow?" Ethan immediately nodded vigorously, his eyes sparkling. "Yes. Wherever you want to go, Grace, I'll go with you." Traveling with Ethan temporarily soothed the pain in my heart. We walked on the beach together. He would awkwardly try to cheer me up, chasing and playing around. We snorkeled together, watching fish and coral. We tasted local delicacies, and he would always carefully pick food for me, watching me eat with satisfaction in his eyes. Through these small interactions, our relationship grew closer without us even realizing it, and our feelings gradually deepened. But peaceful days are always fleeting. I was still enjoying my vacation when a call from my company's HR department pulled me back to reality. The HR manager informed me that I had been fired. I was completely bewildered. I was a diligent employee with excellent performance. Why was I being dismissed without cause? When I checked online, I found I had been plastered all over major social media platforms. Various posts accused me of being fickle, finding a new partner at my wedding, a gold digger abandoning her 7-year boyfriend to climb the social ladder, and a modern-day Jezebel. The comment sections were filled with curses. It turned out the Miller family had retaliated against me in the media, even employing an online smear campaign. I trembled with rage, but there was nothing I could do. "Grace, if you lost your job, you lost it. What's the big deal?" Ethan took the phone from my hand. "Hi." His pale cheeks slightly puffed, but his voice carried an undeniable firmness. "With your abilities, Grace, are you afraid you won't find something better? This is our honeymoon. Don't let irrelevant people and things spoil your mood. They're not worth it." With that, he tossed my phone forcefully into the ocean. Out with the old, in with the new. He took a brand new phone from his small backpack and handed it to me. "Here, Grace, this is a gift I secretly prepared for you, the latest model. We'll use this, and then those annoying people won't be able to find you anymore." Watching him, I was between laughter and tears, but much of the frustration in my heart dissipated. "You're right." I smiled, feeling relieved. Just then, a vendor cart selling colorful rainbow ice cream passed by. Ethan's eyes immediately lit up. He instantly forgot his previous displeasure, tugged on my arm, and pleaded, Grace, I want that rainbow ice cream. Can we share one?" The way he said Grace was so natural and intimate that my heart fluttered. I smiled and agreed, "Okay, wait here." When I returned, I saw Ethan with his back to me, his slender figure tall and stern, holding his phone and speaking with a serious expression. His voice was very low, but I could faintly hear phrases like "shut it down immediately," "don't let anyone involved off the hook," and "no loose ends, make sure she never sees this again." His tone and the content were completely different from the sunny, playful, even slightly goofy persona he usually displayed in front of me, carrying an undeniable authority and decisiveness. He sensed my presence, hung up the phone with lightning speed, and turned around. The sharp aura he had just exuded vanished instantly. He smiled, took the ice cream, and brought it close to me, his voice a playful whine. "Grace, try this quickly, this ice cream is so pretty." A flicker of doubt crossed my mind, but I didn't press him further. The trip ended quickly. I had originally planned to return to Capital City to handle things, but Ethan pulled me directly onto a flight to Coastline City, a southern coastal city. "We're not going back to Capital City, that place of sorrow." Ethan pouted, his tone a childish stubbornness. My hometown is Coastline City, and newlyweds should naturally live together. Please, Grace, just listen to me, okay? He then led me to a luxury villa nestled against the mountains and overlooking the sea. I was somewhat startled. It's a house my company provided. We can stay here for now, Ethan said lightly, though an almost imperceptible hint of anticipation flickered in his eyes. He took my hand and led me inside. After that, Ethan and I began living together in Coastline City. Although we were legally married, it had happened so quickly that we still slept in separate rooms. Ethan would often find various excuses, blinking his innocent big eyes, pitifully hugging a pillow as he tried to get into my room. Grace, sleeping alone is a bit empty. The room is too big. Grace, I had a nightmare. Can I sleep with you tonight? Or when I watched horror movies, he'd get scared and burrow into my arms, then opportunistically refuse to leave until I, both amused and exasperated, escorted him back to his own room. Despite this, our feelings for each other deepened through these daily interactions and playful banter. Ethan would prepare delicious breakfasts for me every day, trying different recipes, and awkwardly wash dishes, but he always made a huge mess in the kitchen. When I occasionally felt discouraged, he would give me the warmest encouragement, carefully cupping my face, and telling me with firm eyes, Grace, you're the best. Nothing can stop you. After settling down, I started looking for a job in Coastline City. I had expected it would be difficult to find a job after being fired and smeared in Capital City. However, to my surprise, the moment I finished updating my resume on a job search platform, and before I even had a chance to apply, dozens of job invitations instantly flooded my email inbox. Almost all the invitations came from well-known large companies in Coastline City, including many industry giants. The positions they invited me to fill were all at the level of department manager, technical director, or project lead, and the compensation offered was very generous. I found it somewhat unbelievable. After careful consideration, I finally chose a tech company that was close to home and had good development prospects. On the day of the interview, I felt anxious. Ethan, however, acted like a loyal assistant, carefully adjusting the collar of my business suit, standing on his tiptoes to lightly kiss my cheek, and gently encouraging me, Go, Grace. You're the best. I know you'll succeed. Although his encouragement helped me calm down a lot, I was still a bit nervous, considering I had been out of work for some time and was interviewing at such a large company. But the entire interview process went incredibly smoothly. The interviewers praised me profusely, asked almost no tricky questions, and immediately expressed a strong desire for me to join as soon as possible, with negotiable salary and benefits. All of it was so smooth, it was as if someone had arranged it beforehand. My new life was on track, my career was flourishing, and my relationship with Ethan grew sweeter by the day. I thought Michael would disappear completely. However, fate always enjoys a good joke. One day after work, just as I stepped out of the company building, a familiar figure embraced me tightly. Grace, I was wrong. Please don't be angry with me anymore, okay? Michael held me tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. It was my fault. I didn't go to the wedding, and I was still throwing tantrums with you afterward. Please, let's get back together, okay? I froze. A wave of disgust washed over me. I pushed Michael away forcefully and looked at him coldly. Michael, it's impossible. For us. No. Grace, listen to me. Michael, unwilling to give up, fell directly to his knees, pleading tearfully. 7 years of history, does it truly mean nothing to you? I know I wronged you. Please, give me another chance. Let's get back together, okay? His crying attracted passers-by, who began to gather and point. My face darkened. Michael, do you really want to expose everything in public? Michael initially tried to play dumb, blinking his tear-filled eyes innocently and saying, Grace, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I scoffed, no longer allowing him any illusions. You don't understand? Then let me remind you. The night before our wedding, you were on the phone with Amber in the den. I heard every word. You went to see her that night, and you know what you did. I looked at Michael's face, which had turned instantly ashen, and continued with disgust. You actually wanted me to marry you while watching you father someone else's child. Michael, you utterly sicken me. Michael was completely stunned. He collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Grace, please forgive me. I'll go make Amber terminate the pregnancy right now. She threatened me, she forced me, I had no choice but to do it. Stop talking. I interrupted him, my eyes filled with scorn. You're disgusting. After speaking, I turned and walked away, just in time to see Ethan patiently standing not far off, his eyes watching me with concern, clearly having waited for quite some time. Ethan naturally stepped forward, gently took my arm, and asked affectionately, "Grace, did you behave at work today? Did you miss me?" The gloom in my heart was significantly lifted by his warm smile. I fondly pinched his nose. "Of course, for my Ethan, I've been working hard and making money every day." "Grace!" From behind me, Michael's shrill roar came. "Is it because of him? Is it because of this pretty boy that you don't want me anymore?" I frowned, saying coldly, "This has nothing to do with Ethan. You brought this upon yourself." At this moment, Ethan tugged on my sleeve, gesturing for me to wait. He released my hand, and with a hint of coldness in his stride, walked up to the dispirited Michael. He leaned down and whispered a few words into his ear. I didn't quite catch what he said. Michael's face instantly went utterly white, his pupils constricted, and his whole body trembled violently. Ethan straightened up, walked back, naturally took my arm, and gave me a sweet smile. "It's handled. That annoying guy won't bother you anymore, Grace. Let's go home, Grace." "What did you say to him?" I asked curiously. Ethan playfully winked. "It's a secret." Not long after, at Ethan's insistence and arrangement, we held a grand and solemn wedding in Coastline City. In his words, "The first time was too rushed, it doesn't count. This is our real wedding." The wedding venue was chosen to be the Grand of Coastline City's most prestigious hotel. The site was transformed into a magical wonderland, and prominent Coastline City magnates, celebrities, and political figures all came to offer their congratulations. I was a bit bewildered, as there were many influential figures I had only ever seen on television. They all offered their sincere blessings to me and to Ethan by my side. I hadn't known that Ethan, who usually acted like an adorable puppy, possessed such an illustrious network of connections. When the wedding was halfway through, Ethan's parents, a distinguished middle-aged couple who appeared to be around 50, walked onto the stage. The guests below rose in unison, respectfully greeting them. "Good evening, Mr. Vance. Good evening, Mrs. Vance." Mr. Vance and Mrs. Vance smiled as they approached us. Mr. Vance gently patted my shoulder, then solemnly placed Ethan's hand in mine, his gaze warm but carrying a hint of serious entrustment. "Grace, Ethan has been spoiled since childhood and can be a bit headstrong. We're trusting him to your care from now on." Mrs. Vance also took my hand, saying with a smile in her eyes, "If ever bothers you, just tell me, and I'll deal with him." It was then that I realized with a start. My husband, Ethan, was actually the sole heir to the chairman of Vance, a nationally renowned business empire. All of it felt like an unbelievable dream. Life after marriage was sweet and blissful. I didn't feel any pressure because of Ethan's family background. Under Vance's arrangement, I joined a subsidiary of Vance with excellent prospects, taking on a key position. With my own abilities, and the resources and connections the Vance family provided, intentionally or not, my career soared. Ethan, meanwhile, contentedly settled into the role of my gentle and considerate husband. He kept the house impeccably organized, and his greatest daily pleasure seemed to be experimenting with various recipes, then watching me eat every bite. These peaceful and wonderful days almost made me forget the unpleasant past in Capital City. One day, as I was preparing dinner for Ethan, my phone buzzed with a message from an old friend in Capital City. "Grace, guess who I saw in the news headlines today? Michael. He was sentenced." My heart skipped a beat, and I pressed for the reason. My friend quickly replied, "Didn't he come back to Coastline City to cause a scene with you before? After he went back, his company actually went bankrupt. I heard he was overwhelmed, and that mistress, Amber, saw he no longer had any use for him, so she broke up with him. She went directly to the Miller residence and caused a huge scene, demanding a severance payment, but both he and his mother were kicked out. Amber, in a fit of rage, posted all their private chat logs online. Michael completely ruined his reputation. It's said that he was also taken away by the police for embezzlement he committed earlier to try and save the company, and he'll likely go to jail. As for Amber, she was also intense for maliciously spreading private information and attempted blackmail. They truly got what was coming to them, both ending up in jail. It was so satisfying. Reading this message, I felt a pang of regret, but there wasn't much emotional stir. Michael and Amber had brought this upon themselves. No one else was to blame for their fate. Just then, a pair of soft arms gently wrapped around my waist from behind. Ethan pressed against my back, his voice carrying a hint of lazy contentment. "Grace, what are you thinking about?" I chuckled softly, put down my phone, turned off the stovetop, and turned to pull him into my embrace. I was wondering when my Ethan secretly fell in love with me? To even make that kind of phone call to me. Ethan snuggled into my arms, looked up with his small face, his eyes sparkling with mischief. When? Probably. For 20 years. 20 years? I stared at him in shock. How was that possible? Ethan looked at my incredulous expression and gave a shy smile, but a gentle sheen of tenderness gradually filled his eyes, hinting at a distant memory and profound affection. He extended a slender finger and gently traced the contours of my face, as if sketching a rare treasure. Grace, do you remember? 20 years ago, in a small park in the outskirts of Capital City, there was a playful little boy who got lost and accidentally fell into a thinly frozen lake. He was so scared he could only cry, believing he was about to die. Just as he was desperate and helpless, so cold he was losing consciousness, a little girl, like a tiny angel fallen from the sky, rushed over recklessly. She carefully spread her small body flat on the ice, using all her strength to extend a branch towards him, shouting for help while encouraging him to grab the branch. In the end, with her help and the rescue efforts of passers-by, the little boy was saved. My pupils constricted. A childhood memory, long buried by time, was instantly awakened by his words, becoming incredibly clear. I did remember that when I was about 7 or 8 years old, while playing in a park one winter, I seemed to have genuinely rescued a little boy who had fallen into an ice hole. I even caught a cold from it and was nagged by my mom for days. I had never imagined that the shivering, soaking wet little boy I had extended a helping hand to back then. That little boy was me, Grace. Ethan's eyes glistened with tears, yet he wore a smile of immense happiness and contentment. From that day on, your brave and kind image, like a beacon of light, was deeply etched into my heart. I've been searching for you for so many years. It wasn't until a few years ago that I finally recognized you by chance. But at that time, Michael was already by your side. So, that phone call on the night before the wedding, my voice was a little hoarse, my heart a mix of emotions. I orchestrated it, Ethan admitted candidly, his gaze clear and resolute. I knew about Michael and Amber. I knew he had already betrayed you. I couldn't just stand by and watch Grace be kept in the dark, marry a man like that, and ruin her life. So, I took a gamble, that you would discover his true colors, and that you would give me a chance to stand openly by your side. I hugged him tightly, my heart surging with unspeakable emotion and gratitude. I thought my life had been utterly devastated, betrayed by the one I loved most, and my career also taking a hit. But I never imagined that behind all of it was another profound, patient waiting and careful orchestration spanning 20 years. It turned out I wasn't a hapless victim abandoned by fate, but a lucky one favored by Cupid in a different way. Those so-called missed opportunities were perhaps just a prelude to a better encounter. I lowered my head and kissed him deeply, my salvation. My love, 20 years overdue.